Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to explore the basics of audio in Unity. A crucial part of creating an immersive game experience is audio. Audio can completely change the feel of a game by adding atmosphere, tension, or excitement. In this video, we'll cover how to import audio clips and set them up to give our assets a bit more life. This isn't a super deep dive into the audio system in Unity. We're just going to touch the surface so you guys know how to add a bit more life to your assets and understand how audio works from the perspective of a 3D artist. We are going to take a look at adding some soundtracks to our game, so that way we can bring our game to life and add to it in a way that isn't already present here. So let's go ahead and dive in and get started. The first thing I want to tackle is this here, our gate. Our gate doesn't make any sound, so if I go ahead and hit play currently, and we come into our game and we go near this, we're not actually going to hear anything. And I have my desktop audio turned on, so we'll be able to hear the game sounds. I'll try not to talk during it, but if we go near this, we don't get a sound, right? We run into it, there's no sound. We expect something, kind of like when we go to the platform here. You can hear that hovering and twinkling sound. So something like that would be nice to have on our gate. Now, we can start by looking at what audio is included in here before we bring something from outside in. We could record our own audio, we could also source our own audio, but if we have some audio in here, we might be able to use it. So let's take a look at the audio file in the 3D Game Kit. And we can take a look through this. You can see Ellen has her own audio file in terms of these. I don't think we want any of those. Maybe Weapon might have something. Our enemies have one. Maybe the Grenadier has one and is idle. That could be kind of useful. To check these out, we can right-click and we can show and explore. This will open them up, and we can go ahead and double-click to listen to them. So that would be a silly sound for a gate to have. That would as well. That would be interesting. I don't think the enemies are going to be what we find our settings in. Now, you can see I can navigate here, which is nice. We could look at the environment. There's acid, ambience, dropship. Dropship might be interesting. There's a loop here, mono loop, stereo loop. Let's see what it sounds like. So something like that would work really well for a laser gate. We want to listen to it all the way through just to make sure there's no weirdness, but I think we might have found our sound. All right. Now the question is, how do we attach it? What do we attach it to? We're going to use the dropship stereo loop. What we're going to do is come into our asset here, and I might even go into the prefab. So remember, we made that prefab. To access the actual prefab, I can come to Assets, My Prefab, go to Gates, and double-click this to open in prefab edit mode. Now remember, the way we set this up is that our laser gate is going to trigger a deactivation of these lasers. So in theory, if we wanted the sound to sound like it was coming from those lasers, we would want to actually attach it to this laser group. We can do so by going to Add Component, and as you might have guessed, we could type in Audio, and we can look up all sorts of different audio inside of here. Now, we're going to have a lot of different audio types. Audio is its own system in games, but the one we usually deal with as an asset creator is a audio source. That's going to be the source of the audio, where it's coming from. If we go and click Audio Source, it will add an input to this, and we can input an audio clip. So for this, I'm just going to look for that dropship stereo loop. I'll just look for dropship. And we can look for that dropship stereo loop here, and we can input this into here. And that's all we need to do to add a sound. Now, as far as the other components of sound, what you need to hear sound is a listener, and that's either attached to the camera or a character controller. So we already have that built into our scene. Now that I have this in place, it should be good to go. There are some things we do want to talk about here, though, inside of here, one of which is going to be the play on awake. This is going to mean it plays as soon as the level goes. So when you see on awake, that means the moment the asset appears, it's playing. In this instance, we absolutely do want that. The next thing we want to check is loop. Loop is going to make this loop infinitely, so when the sound end gets to the end of the clip, it restarts. We are going to want that for this asset, since we want it to play continuously. Now, next to this, we have some effects we can adjust. Priority, volume, pitch, stereo pan, blend, all that kind of stuff. What do these mean? Priority is how high of a priority is it for you to hear this. With low priority assets, we can place those lower on the spectrum, and that's going to make it so the game can sort out which sounds are important, which aren't, if there's conflicting calls in terms of data. Now, I'm going to leave it in the middle. It's important, but not important. But if it was like a really important thing like dialogue, we would set that to high. For the volume, we can adjust the volume here. I'll leave it at 1 for now, but you could use this as a master dial. The pitch, stereo and pan, those are all ways to edit this. So stereo and pan is left ear, right ear. We'll leave it in the middle. Pitch, you can play around with it to edit the sound, and that's how we can make this sound effect different than the airship. And we can play around with that once we get into game. The spatial blend here, this is a 2D versus a 3D sound. Now, a 2D sound can be heard everywhere. It's two-dimensional, it's flat, we can hear it across the whole scene. So a two-dimensional sound would be something like a music track, but this is not a music track. A 3D sound is going to get louder as you get closer to it, and you can think of this dial as a spatial relationship. So in terms of this, it's going to be a fairly loud machine, so I'll take this dial and push it towards 3D, but not all the way. And that should make it so as we get closer and closer to this, we hear it. Now, I'll make it a little bit narrow to start things out so you can see that. But let's go ahead and give an experiment. Let's see if we hear our sound now and we can play around with it. So this should be applied to my prefab. If I come in here now and I select the gate and we take a look at the lasers, you'll see it has that audio source. That's the beautiful thing about a prefab. Anywhere we have this, it'll be placed. We can hit play and now we can listen. I'm going to be quiet during this part so that we can really hone in on the audio. But you'll see as I get closer, we hear that. And if I get further away, you'll see we don't. Now I can still hear it though, which means that we're probably going to want to make this more of a true 3D sound effect. We can actually edit this while this is going. It won't necessarily save the settings, but we can edit that. Now I accidentally ran over my trigger, but we can confirm that the sound went away, right? So let's play around with these settings here. I'll double click back into my prefab, go into the sound here, and on the sound, I'm going to make it fully 3D. And we might also play around with the pitch. I'm going to see what happens if we make it a lower pitch. Just see what happens. So let's hit play and listen to this. Notice I am hitting play on the prefab screen. That's usually not a good idea to do. It shouldn't affect anything. You'll see that's with the pitch change. So I actually want the pitch to be higher probably. But you can see we can confirm that goes away. So let's try that again with high pitch just to see what happens. And this will make it distinctive from the spaceship if we do plan to use the spaceship. It's not quite what I would want, but let's check the spatial relationship. You'll see as I get further away from it, we hear it less. I think it's gone now. And as we get closer, we can hear it. And when we step on this, it goes away. Pretty cool. All right, so I think I'll just do the pitch maybe slightly lower. Or just leave it where it was. And we'll call that good for the gate. So this will be our gate. You know, that's recycling our existing thing. And that's how we can attach audio to something. So you can see we now have it attached to our actual lasers. We have it spatial, so as we move away, we don't hear it anymore. And then because it's attached to our lasers and not the gate itself, when we step on this, we lose the sound entirely. So let's take a look at adding something like a soundtrack. I went ahead and created a soundtrack for us using this Suno AI here. Suno AI is a really cool AI tool you can use to make audio and make music tracks. I've been experimenting with it, and what I came up with us is this one here called Galactic Echoes. I'll go ahead and hit play, we'll listen to a little bit of it, but we're going to use this as a background track for our level. So kind of a very dramatic, abandoned on a space planet soundtrack. So how are we going to add this in? The way we'll add this in is by creating a new sound object in our scene. And I could even make this a prefab if I wanted to, which sounds silly, but why not? We could create a soundtrack 1 prefab. The way I would do that is I would create an empty object here, and I would make this called soundtrack 01. Set this to 00. It's a good practice to have these at 00 so they're easy to find. And just like we did with our asset, we'll add in an audio source this time. Same thing, and we're going to drag in our sound. Now, we need to bring this sound into Unity. So under the assets panel, I might want to create a new folder here, and I'll just call this my audio since this is my file. So we'll go ahead and create one called my audio, and we'll just drag and drop this Galactic Echoes into here. I haven't checked the file format. It's an MP3, which I believe should be fine with Unity. Anytime you have a question on if an audio format's correct for your software, just go look it up in the documentation. But with this in here, I can drag this into my audio clip. For the volume, I'm going to leave it at 1 for now, so we're going to blow our ears out, and we're going to set this to loop. Now, there's a catch to this. Remember, what I want to do here is set the spatial blend to 2D, and if I have that set fully 2D, it should make it so no matter where we're at in the level, we can hear that everywhere, and that's going to be how we want to approach something like a soundtrack. So with this, I'll hit play, and we should hear our music when we come in. It'll very likely be overwhelmingly loud, so hopefully not too loud. But you can see we can hear it. And you can see how the other sound effects are kind of failing in comparison. And hopefully the audio is balancing here while I'm talking. I'm not sure how this will come out during the recording. But if I run anywhere in our level now, we can hear this music. So you can see the impact that has now. So if I wanted to lower the volume, I could set this to maybe 0.5, so it's more of a background sound. But ideally, what I would want to do is I'd have this hooked into the user interface. I'd have this linked into some editing audio stuff that Unity has. If you come up here to the menus, you can see there's our whole audio section here for audio mixers. You can create mixer switches for the different master volumes and individual volumes. I'm not going to get into that. I want to show you guys this exists. If you guys want to go down that rabbit hole, you like audio, you want to explore it, go for it. As a 3D artist, this is not something we touch. Audio engineers, they're their own beast. But it is fun to add sound to our own project. So just be aware, this is how you would do it. You would link your sound effects into here. You'd categorize them by sound effects, music, dialogue, and then that could be piped into a UI via scripting that a player could control through a menu. We don't have anything that fancy set up, so we could just control our master volume here. And a lot of video games don't, if you think about it. A vast majority, I would say, don't. You just get what you get. So it just kind of depends. But we could edit that so that, the audio sounds more or less loud compared to everything else. So I might want to take that even lower if we just want like a mood piece. And just be mindful that this is going to be on top of everything else. So because we always hear this, it's going to be more prevalent than not. So now you can see my sound effects come through a little bit better, but we still have our music. And I might take that down even lower. We might see what 0.1 sounds like on this sound. So that's probably too quiet. So somewhere between 0.2 and 0.3 might be good for what I'm going for. But we can add that in, which is pretty cool. And nowadays with AI, you guys don't need to worry so much about creating your own audio, which is really cool. We can actually create unique soundtracks for games just like that. So now we can go and explore our lonely world. And we can see some of the other features we crashed in here with the train that I didn't explore in the previous videos. Like how this ledge looks. Pretty cool. With how colliders work, I can't really get up it, which is perfect. No holes or anything. So pretty cool how that can fit in there. And we could probably edit it to even turn into a cave if we wanted to. All right, so there you go. We got some audio. We got some sound effects on our objects. The last thing I might consider doing is coming into my prefabs here and just creating a soundtrack prefab. So we might create a folder here for soundtracks, and maybe we want these soundtracks to have different effects. So we can drag this into here. We could even consider attaching soundtracks to enemies, which is kind of an interesting thought. When you get near them, you could use a 3D sound effect. It'd be kind of weird because as it moves around and you move around, the sound's going to go away. But in theory, you could set that up, which is kind of cool. Now, just to show this, we could go ahead and bring this prefab into our previous scene. So if I go ahead and open our previous scene here, we go into our original sandbox, we could bring this soundtrack in, and now we could have a consistent soundtrack across the game. Or if I wanted to generate a different soundtrack for this intro level, we could totally have that as well. So let's just bring this in. It's been a while since I've been in this scene. It'd be cool to add in our new gate to the scene as well. But let's hit play and give it a listen. So now our sad music is going to fit well with our dialogue we put into here. And you can see how it's going to work out with all the other sound effects we have in the scene. All right, so this is where we might want to have different sound effects. When we load into the scene, it's not going to pick up where it left off. We'd have to set some sort of special script for that to happen. But we have sound. So our world's feeling much more immersive, and our toolkit has expanded quite vastly to where we can really get some variety out of this game kit in terms of level building, story building, and even incorporating our own elements using the tools like we've done with our laser gate. And that's going to be it for today's introduction to audio in Unity. You now know how to bring your game to life with background music and sound effects. Experiment with different audio clips and fine-tune the details to match the mood of your game. If you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what kind of audio setup you're working on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.